A spaceship of the ancient gods and a city guarded by robots. What else could be under the pyramids of Egypt? And what are the Egyptian authorities so carefully concealing? Well, now I will direct you to the playlist I have of the Emerald Tablets written by the Atlantean Thoth, the god of ancient Egypt, Thoth or Hermes Trismegistus. He describes in those Emerald Tablets their very deep philosophy, their very advanced technology. He claims that they even had colonies on Mars. Mars had an Earth-like climate before it was destroyed. He talks about the abuse of their technical knowledge, and he said it was only a matter of time before the divine spirit put an end to them because they had interdimensional travel. Besides intergalactic travel, they had interdimensional travel. They could be in our dimension at one point, then the next split second later in another dimension. It's a great discussion point. I hope you do watch those Emerald Tablets videos on my playlist, the Emerald Tablets, because there's a lot for you to learn from there. Their philosophy, their religion, their technology. And Thoth, Hermes Trismegistus, says that he credits himself with the Giza Plateau constructions, and that he has that the Atlanteans had known that they would be a destruction of Atlantis, and they had gone to various other locations of Earth to set up cities, and the first thing they did was build pyramids. He claims that one of his spaceships is buried under a sphinx in Egypt. He doesn't say if it's in Giza or some other Egyptian pyramid plateau, but he says his spaceship is buried under a sphinx in Egypt. I remember that very clearly. Now, he also says that one of the Atlantean generals and his entourage was exiled to Mars, and that the general was buried under a face sculpture, and his entourage buried under pyramids next to the face. So that could be the Sidonia face and pyramids that he was referring to. Anyway, going back to this, what could the authorities be hiding, concealing? Now, since 2014, Egyptian authorities have banned excavations under the pyramids at Giza and the Sphinx. The fact is that previously unknown underground passages and rooms were discovered there. And they were also referring to ancient Greek texts, saying that yes, that there was an underground city, a labyrinth under the Giza Plateau. But today we have very advanced technology that by radar tracking can see what's underground without digging anything. So they could do that. I don't know if they'll need any permission to do that. Now, after this discovery, admissions to the place is strictly prohibited, and was issued only to 3 foreign researchers. Coincidence or not, but all 3 entered the Institute of Egyptology in Cairo. That is, they fully supported the academic version of the origin of this complex. But there are various experts who report that they were in the dungeons under the said buildings. For example, Italian journalist and amateur archaeologist Antonio Laprieno hypothesized that the sands consumed several floors of modern-day dungeons in Egypt. In fact, the Sphinx and the pyramids are only the pinnacle of creation, and under them is the whole city. There is an ancient parable of the Garamanters, people who presumably lived in Egypt before the Egyptians, about a young man who ended up in a lost city. And this story takes us back to the 14th millennium BC. So the guy found himself in a room that was illuminated by electrical snakes. Sunlight did not penetrate inside, but tens and hundreds of mysterious lamps emitted this light. Inside each of them was a sun snake, quote unquote. Perhaps it was they who were depicted on the bas-reliefs in ancient Egypt. Now, in addition, there were real forests in the lower floors of the structures. Someone or something has created an underground oasis, and under the ground there was a lake and a river flowing into it. There was not a soul there, as if everyone had left this place quite recently. The young man heard a sharp grinding and saw something bright from behind. And in fear, he ran into the street and told everyone that under the pyramids there is a real paradise. Only a terrible monster, bright as a dozen suns, guarded this. And from this story, we can conclude that the pyramids and the Sphinx were not erected by people, at least not by our civilization. It just so happened that first the inhabitants of the desert came to this territory, and then the Egyptians appropriated these cultural objects. The farmers the famous researcher Eric van Daniken believes that in the past there was a paleo contact between humans and extraterrestrial aliens. Probably on our planet, indeed tens of thousands of years ago, there was a developing civilization. Whether humans were its representatives or not is difficult to answer. But according to the interpretation of the Swiss specialist Van Daniken, the pyramids and the Sphinx were erected by aliens, and that bright monster is a robot that gleamed light from mysterious lamps. If this is true, and there is a whole city under the pyramids, then where did the inhabitants go? And why are robots guarding it, and were they discovered by specialists who have been excavating the lower floors for more than 7 years? To be honest, there is a certain skepticism about the opinions of various psychics, but Edgar Cayce predicted a lot of different events, so he can be trusted. He reported that under the Sphinx and the pyramids, there is a network of dungeons among which is hidden a library of ancient mankind written on sheets of gold. He called it the legacy of the Atlanteans and the gods in the north. Some believe that we're talking about Atlantis and Hyperborea. So, we know that, I'll refer to it here again, Alexander the Great went to the China desert of Taklamakan with his 30,000 warriors. He lost 10,000 of them there because of the harsh conditions, and he went there to meet an Atlantean that was supposed to land there with his his spacecraft, from Hyperborea in order to give him a special advanced technology weapon. And the copy of that is supposedly today in the one of the Tibetan monasteries in the Himalayas. It looks like the lightning rod of Zeus. Now, he called the legacy of the Atlanteans and the gods of the north. Some believe they were talking about Atlantis and Hyperborea. So it may well turn out that under tens of meters of sand, there are secret knowledge and great technology of civilization sunk into oblivion. So they are trying to hide something. Obviously, there's something down there. Now, French Egypt, because of the fact that it's in the Emerald Tablets, it's also referred to by ancient texts of the ancient Greeks. French Egyptologist Jacques Christian said that in 1971, he and his colleagues turned to a medium for help. He told about 26 iron guards of the dungeons of Egypt. I guess robots. Now, when asked further, he exclaimed that he saw real robots made of gold and iron. They were located under the Sphinx at a depth of 230 meters on the 28th underground floor. Can you imagine how deep this labyrinth is? Guard the interstellar crystal ship. There we go. They're talking about an underground labyrinth, an underground city, and also a spaceship underground. This exactly confirms what's written in the Emerald Tablets, written by Thoth Hermes Trismegistus, the Atlantean. And on it, in the 70th millennium BC, the ancestors of the first caste of gods arrived on Earth, which they erected such beautiful cultural pinnacles, like, of course, the pyramids and other constructions. And there, according to the medium, the bodies of the aliens lie in the sarcophagi. And this is what the weapon of the Atlantean extraterrestrial given to Alexander the Great looked like. They have a copy of this in one of the Himalayan Buddhist monasteries. And they also have a copy of this in India. It's called the ancient Varja weapon. So they knew this in India as well. Let's remember Mohenjo-Daro has traces of radioactivity. Supposedly there was a nuclear explosion that took place there. So this is probably caused by something like this, ancient Atlantean technology. Now, naturally, most Egyptologists and in general scientists are skeptics and materialists, so no one believes the word of the media. But who knows? What if there really are robots and spaceship of a lost civilization on our planet? Is this not so carefully concealed by the Egyptian authorities? Why do they not want anyone to dig underneath? Well, we do have LiDAR, so they can use the satellite images to find out what's underneath. So please leave your comments about this. Thank you for your support, and this is on Solask. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.